Hello, my friends. Welcome back to Storyline English. I'm really happy you're here with me today. Get comfortable, relax your mind, and let's open the door to another story together. Today's story is a journey about family, ambition, and a small town in Germany that changed the world of sport forever. It is a story about two brothers who built something extraordinary together, and then lost each other completely. If you have ever worn a pair of Adidas or Puma shoes, then this story belongs to you. Stay with me until the end, because the discovery waiting for you is one you will not forget. And before we begin, if this is your first time here, please subscribe to Storyline English and leave a comment below. Your words mean a great deal to this channel. Now, let us begin. Our story begins in a small, quiet town in the south of Germany. The town is called Herzogenaurach. It sits on a river, surrounded by green fields and old buildings. Life there was simple. People worked hard. They knew their neighbors. They lived close together. This was the early 1900s, and the world was very different from the world we know today. There were no big sports brands. There were no famous logos on shirts or shoes. And yet, in this small town, two brothers were born who would one day put their mark on the feet of the greatest athletes on earth. Their names were Rudolf and Adolf Dassler. Rudolf was the older brother, strong and confident. Adolf, who everyone called Adi, was quieter, more careful, and deeply in love with the idea of making shoes. Their father worked in a local shoe factory, and from a very young age, both brothers understood the craft of making shoes. They watched, they learned, and they dreamed. But dreams in a small town in the early 1900s were not easy to follow. There was little money. There was no great opportunity waiting for them. What they had was each other and the desire to create something new. And so the question begins here, quietly and softly. Two brothers, one dream. Where would that road take them? It was the year 1919 when Adolf Dassler made his first pair of shoes. He was not in a factory. He was in his mother's washhouse, a small room where the family washed their clothes. The room smelled of soap and warm water. There was little light, but Addy worked there every day, cutting leather, stitching soles, shaping each shoe with his hands. He used old materials because he had no money for new ones. He used leftover canvas and soft leather pieces. The shoes were not perfect, but they were honest, and they were made with care. A few years later, Rudolf joined his brother. Together, they started a small company. They called it the Dassler Brothers Shoe Factory. It was not a glamorous name, but it was a true one. The brothers worked side by side. Rudolf was good at talking to people, at selling, at convincing others to believe in their product. Addy was good at making, at improving, at finding better ways to build a shoe. They were different men, but together they were strong. One brother gave the company a voice, the other gave it a heart. The factory slowly began to grow. People in the town started wearing their shoes. And then, something happened that changed everything. Something that took their small dream and placed it on the world stage. But what was it? The answer came from a stadium thousands of kilometers away, at the Olympic Games of 1936 in Berlin. The 1936 Olympic Games in Berlin were one of the most watched events in the world. The eyes of every nation were on the athletes. and one athlete stood above all others. His name was Jesse Owens. He was a young man from America, and he ran with a speed and a grace that seemed almost impossible. He won 4 gold medals. The crowd was silent, then loud, then in complete awe. The world had never seen anything quite like it. But here is the quiet part of this story, the part that most people do not know. Before Jesse Owens ran those historic races, Adolf Dassler visited him at the Olympic Village. He carried a small bag. Inside that bag were a pair of handmade running shoes, light, strong, and built for speed. Addy asked Jesse to try them. Jesse put them on. He ran, and he felt the difference immediately. Jesse Owens won his gold medals wearing Dassler shoes. Think about that for a moment. A young man from a small German washhouse had made the shoes worn by the fastest man in the world. The story of the Dassler brothers was no longer a local one. The whole world had just seen their work, even if most of the world did not yet know their name. After Berlin, orders began to arrive. Athletes wanted these shoes. The factory grew. The brothers hired more workers. The future looked bright. But quietly, under the surface of this success, something was beginning to change between Rudolf and Adolf. A small shadow was forming. And shadows, as we know, grow larger with time. When the Second World War began in 1939, the lives of Rudolf and Adolf Dassler changed completely. Like many men in Germany at that time, both brothers were connected to the war in different ways. The factory stopped making sports shoes. Instead, it made boots for soldiers. The joy of creation gave way to the heavy work of survival. During these years, something broke between the two brothers. The exact reason is still not completely clear, even today. Some people say that Rudolf believed Addy said something against him to the authorities. Others say that old disagreements about the business finally became too large to ignore. Their wives argued. Their trust in each other disappeared. They stopped talking the way brothers should talk. They stopped looking each other in the eyes. By the end of the war, the factory was still standing. The town of Herzogenaurach was damaged, but alive. But the relationship between Rudolf and Adolf Dassler was something that could no longer be repaired. Two men who had shared a washhouse, a dream, a family name, and the greatest moment of athletic history. Those two men were now strangers to each other. The discovery that hurt most was not a secret or a betrayal. It was simply this: time and silence had done what no argument ever could. They had made two brothers forget how much they once loved each other. In 1948, Rudolf and Adolf Dassler made a decision that was both very simple and very painful. They split the company in two. Adolf kept the main factory on one side of the river Auchach. He named his company Adidas, a short, clean name made from his own nickname, Addy, and the first 3 letters of his family name, Dassler. Adi Das. Adidas. He chose 3 stripes as his logo: simple, strong, and easy to remember. He focused on quality. He focused on the athlete. He believed that if you made the best shoe, the world would find you. Rudolf crossed the river and built his own factory on the other side. He named his company Puma, a strong animal, fast and proud. He, too, was a talented man. He understood marketing. He understood competition. He wanted to win, just as his brother did. And so, from one family, two empires were born. The town of Herzogenaurach was split, just like the brothers were. Families who worked for Adidas did not speak to families who worked for Puma. Shops on one street refused to serve people from the other factory. Even at the local football club, players chose a side. The town became two towns inside one. People called it the town of bent necks, because everyone looked down at the shoes of a stranger before deciding if they were friend or enemy. In the years that followed, both Adidas and Puma grew in ways that Rudolf and Adolf could never have imagined in that old washhouse. Adidas became the most powerful sports brand in the world. Its shoes were on the feet of football players, Olympic sprinters, and everyday people walking down the streets of London, Paris, and Tokyo. The three stripes became one of the most recognized symbols on Earth. Puma grew too, and became a brand known for style and speed. Its partnerships with famous athletes made the name known across every continent. Both companies built teams, invested in innovation, and competed in every corner of the global sports market. They were rivals, but they were also, in a strange way, connected. Two branches of the same tree growing in opposite directions, but sharing the same root. Adolf Dassler died in 1978. Rudolf Dassler had died 2 years before him in 1974. The two brothers never reconciled. They were buried in the same cemetery in Herzogenaurach, but on opposite sides. Even in death, the distance between them remained. There is something deeply human in that image. Two men, resting close to each other, separated by a silence that had lasted 30 years. Their story is a lesson about what can be built when people work together, and what can be lost when they stop trying to understand each other. Every time you put on a pair of Adidas or Puma shoes, you are holding a small piece of a very long story. You are touching the memory of two brothers who once sat together in a simple room, cutting leather, dreaming quietly, believing that a good shoe could change a life. And they were right. It could. It did. It changed the lives of Jesse Owens and millions of athletes after him. It changed a small German town. It changed the world of sport forever. But the most important part of this story is not the success. The most important part is the warning inside the success. Rudolf and Adolf Dassler built something incredible together, and then they let a silence grow between them until it was too large to cross. They never said the words that could have brought them back to each other. They never tried again. The lesson from this story is quiet and simple, my friends. The things we build together are always greater than the things we build alone. And the people we love, our family, our friends, the people who walk beside us on the journey, they are worth more than any argument, any competition, or any empire. You have been on this journey with me today, and I am grateful for your time and your attention. Learning English through stories is a beautiful adventure, and every story you listen to makes you stronger, not only in language, but in understanding the world around you. If this story stayed with you, please leave a comment below. Tell me what you felt. Tell me which brother you understood better. Share this episode with someone who loves history, or someone who is learning English just like you. And subscribe to Storyline English so that the next door to the next story is always open and waiting for you. I will see you in the next story, my friends. Until then, keep listening, keep learning, and keep going.